WePlay получил право проводить майнер. Я думаю, он уже вошел в историю. Это, во-первых, самый просматриваемый минор за всю историю, а во-вторых, он был сделан в Буковеле, в украинских Карпатах. Задача была сделать новогоднюю сказку. Как говорится, чудес не бывает, но чудо можно создать.
Минор прошел офигенно. По-моему, он превзошел все наши ожидания.
Новых аналитических инструментов, по большому счету, не появляется. Использование такого инструмента дает гораздо больше возможностей для аналитики в процессе обсуждения того, что происходит непосредственно в игре.
Для меня это реально один из лучших примеров того, что мы сделали в плане виртуал-сета. Если мы говорим про хайп или про какие-то такие штуки, то это кибертрак. Ну, то есть от нас ожидают что угодно, и это круто.
История разворачивалась как в большом и жестком триллере. Мир остановился, все закрылись на локдаун.
Нужно было реагировать на ситуацию.
Hello and welcome to the WeSave charity event.
Мы подготовили этот турнир за 7 дней, от момента задумки идеи до реализации.
Мы сделали классный турнир с лучшими командами в то время, когда наша аудитория сидела дома и скучала.
Идея Данка the Dolphin, она ведь возникла в процессе общения с аудиторией. Это была community-driven фича, которая родилась из буквально смешного и забавного разговора.
Файтинги были для нас достаточно новой дисциплиной, которую мы делали первый раз. Динамичные выходы, это декорация, это дополненная реальность. Мы хотели соединить мир файтингов с миром реального спорта. Нам потребовался Александр Усик. Мы его привлекли, рассказали ему идею. Он воспринял на ура.
По-моему, это был самый крутой ивент файтинга, который когда-либо вообще кто-либо делал.
Мы будем продолжать удивлять мир новыми дисциплинами, новыми подходами, новыми концептами, новыми именами.
Hello, I'm Illya Kabachynskyi, and I will be the moderator of this panel. So the thing you have seen in the screen was happening here in Kiev. It's not Los Angeles or anywhere else. Cybersports in Ukraine is important because it is 10,000 people doing that. The audience is 1 million plus. I'm from Khmelnytsky region, so it's equal to the population of the entire region, and all of them are playing this game. We will not be discussing the usual question of Dota versus Counter-Strike, but we are going to discuss the development of this industry in Ukraine. Oleh Humeniuk, CEO from TCHA, Danishevsky from the National Federation of Cybersports of Ukraine, and also Vitalii Lavrov, Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, the Department of Digital Transformation. And so we will start right off because we are very fortunate here. Oleh is representing business, Vitalii is representing the government, and Ivan is making some service for cybersports, but in a sense he represents both. He will tell about his association of cybersport and the reasons why it has not been launched earlier. So let's get right to the topic. Let each of us speak for a minute. Each of you represent a different area. So what is cybersport in Ukraine for you? Let's start with Oleh. A cybersport in Ukraine is about 1.5 million of the audience. It's a large industry, and also Ukraine is a wonderful country with enough talent to develop this industry. There are brands interested in this kind of sports, and it's also a good geographical location where we are able to organize tournaments with European, Asian, and American teams. Vitaly? Currently, for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, it was recognized as official sports a year ago on the 7th of September, but it's not limited to our ministry. It's not only sports, that's an entire industry which also has to do with the scope of competence of other ministries. We are still working to define the list of those ministries, so we are still looking for the answer to this question, and we hopefully will get it till the end of this year. Ivan? So hopefully the microphone will work. From the point of view of the federation, we can say that the potential players of cybersports, it's about 5 million people, and the total number of players is about 5 million. Practically all the young people, and they can be easily converted from regular gamers to cyber athletes. And it's great that we can concentrate on this together with the government, because I believe it's a crucial task for the government to educate young people who are striving for something. And we are also actively working with the business. Hopefully, we will have national teams that can win in some tournaments. And technical sports is just starting to be recognized. It's basically the activation phase when it's been recognized by the government and other serious institutions. So you mentioned that there needs to be some attention on the part of the government, but what kind of attention? I look at the events organized by WePlay, and I think that this is something that draws the attention. What is the responsibility of the government? Well, it's sports, just like any other kinds of sports. Maybe we will rename it someday into the group of electronic sports. But just like in the regular sports, there are some professional accomplishments. So there are professionals, and there is mass activity, something that's useful for the development of everyone. WePlay right now concentrates on professional cybersports, but I'm speaking of 5 million professional athletes, and our task is to grow Olympic champions. So for people to have the right attitude to the time they are spending at their computer, and how to have a team and how to win. That's a totally different thing, and not many people can do it for now.
So, and we're the pioneers in this as a country, as an organization. I think you've got to say what made us recognize this, because I've heard time and again, and we do support the amateur cyber sport, not the professional, because the professional is being developed as a market substance. Amateur is you conduct the playoffs and you select the players and you support the organization of the tournaments and you support the national team to participate in international events, and so that the team is able to travel and participate in the international events. For the national federation, the Ukrainian Federation was recognized as a national one in July. We got all these opportunities unblocked, and you can also work with oblast level budgets. And if we organize oblast organizations, they can work with the main sport administration. There are some other important things. For example, if cybersport is regarded as sport, there's a coach in the classification of professions. Organizations that develop cybersport can actually hire people as coaches, and those people work and they get salary and they are regarded to be official sportsmen and sportswomen. Then there's mechanisms to build up sport facilities, and few take that advantage because few know about it. And I would like to say that this opportunity should be taken. There's this subvention from the Regional Development Fund to develop sports infrastructure. The mechanism is the following: the local authorities contact the central executive bodies with the project to build up the infrastructure. The applications are considered, and this is Law 18 of the Ministry of Region. You may read it if you remember the number, and a decision is made to finance sports infrastructure, taking into consideration that cybersport is considered to be a sport, so subvention can also cover cybersport facility. You need to contact the local authorities in the current year and tell them, we're going to be investing money into the project, we will help you develop the project, which is certain cost, and you apply for the subvention, and then we have some special condition period of using of that money, and an agreement is signed. And if business takes advantage of this, I think that cybersport arenas will be built in great number. We lack those special arenas. The only one that I know is that the exhibition center. So we occupy two buildings, so there are two arenas, and the mic that we're using is producing a hissing sound. You can get money from the state to... Will there be a local official to launch it? Yes, it will be, but there's a lot of money that you may get from the state to develop the infrastructure. It's not all, but I'm definite that this is enough. Is this amount you invest this, the rest is given by the state. But from the business point of view, do you need the state to support you? Do you want the state to get out and not be in your way? Well, let me give you a case. You might have heard about it. There's an event, a big one, International Dota. This year it was supposed to be held in Stockholm, Sweden, but a month to the event, the government of Sweden said no tournament, and it was relocated to a different place, different town. So this is, if the state had supported the tournament and everything had been done according to the rules, all the fans would now be enjoying the tournament. And the thing is that it's COVID and Sweden was slow to respond. Cybersport is not sport, and they didn't let athletes in. They didn't issue them visa. But if we as a country had replied, because there were several days in which we could have replied, I wrote to the people to write to the president, but are you talking about me? Am I the president of the National Association? Well, we wrote to everyone who could influence, and if we had had a chance to call the president or the ministers and tell them that we could bring the coolest cyber sportsmen into the country, we would have been successful. It took Romania a literal couple of days to resolve everything. You said you can get some money to build some arenas. I'd like to know if our society is ready to give away money to buy toys, let's call it this way, not to build a soccer field. There's some limitations. This sport facility should serve the purpose of those who practice 5 sports, and once again there's legislation which has been approved, and the procedure to recognize an activity as sport, the type of sport, is quite a lengthy procedure. How thick was the document pile? We took a 3 year to gather all the necessary documents. So you've done with this now, and so it's not just a computer club at the government money. You need to build new palaces of sports, sport venue places, and there should be cutting edge. You cannot simply go and buy PCs. Well, this is quite a cool initiative, and why Vitalii is drawing a lot of attention to it, because if an initiative is not supported by the potential beneficiaries, then it's a fail. There are few beneficiaries who are supporting this idea. How come? Oleg may make this application, so we have one person already applying for this subvention. What is the support as a business you need from the state? Probably loans with special conditions. Probably you need a passport that lets you travel around the world. So tell us, please. So you need to make the sport popular all over the world, all over the country, because we need to say that this is not just a game, yet another game. It's not making person far from the society. This is a type of sport, a kind of sport, and we need people believe that this is a type of sport. Number one. Number two, according to what's been said above, I'm talking about the international tournament in Stockholm. The state should support us in that. There's small things of the kind, but I would like to create the overall concept of development of this industry within the country. And we would be great if we hosted professional teams, not only from Europe or Asia, but also from our country as well. This is something that's being discussed now. There have been some meetings. WePlay asked us for help, but we said, how can we help? We don't quite understand, and now a request is being produced, and I think it will be rolled out in September. First internal, then external audience will see it, and it's too early to say now. There are 5 to 6 ministries will be engaged: Minister of Region, Minister of Culture, Minister of Foreign Affairs. I'm not sure about the rest, but they will be engaged. I would like to say that two parties are making a negotiation. Two parties know nothing. The state comes and asks me, what do you want? And we say, what do you have? The state goes, we don't know. We say, oh, no do we. So we have lots of negotiations, and finally we find some common grounds, and finally we can support, they can provide some type of assistance. There are some examples that I can give you, because we're at the very beginning of this mutual cooperation, but If cybersport one day becomes and the idea that the government is aware of, that would be better, because a professional cybersport doesn't need any help. It's the cybersport who can help the country to attract more tourists. If the state wanted the same, saying definitely we will help you host the international games here, that would be great. So the amateur part of cybersport is not a profitable action. This is social corporate responsibility. You gotta do it because the people need it, not the business. So that's why it should be financed by the state, from the state budget. And the loudspeaker of the state is louder than that of the VIP play. You see, this is not what we need to develop to promote Ukrainian amateur cybersport. Let me give you an example. Vitaly and I did a great job. In May, we hosted majors in Kiev, and we had to be sent a letter from the ministry, a letter of support, in which the ministry had written that they will support us in all ways possible. It was good. You know, we hosted the Chinese at hard times, and China said, we don't want our players back. So it took us about a month to send the Chinese team back to China, which we did, and then internationals were cancelled. We wanted to keep the Chinese, so that we wanted to say that half of the teams are here. That's why the internationals were held in Romania. No, the Chinese wanted to go home badly. Since you are members of the ministries, you talk about amateur sports again and again, but I see that Messi or Ronaldo do more than a Dynamo recruiter who finds children and adds them to the team. So, if we host cool events, cool games, in the post-Soviet times there are 4 analytic studios. 3 of them are located in Kiev, and they're much stronger than that of Russia, and they're much more popular. The cybersport organization Navi, I checked the statistics, they have total in all types more views than their competitors have. So an example of good team stimulates the new blood, come to the country, come to the game. So if, for example, from what I heard, Bukovel minor cost a lot, and how much was it? It was a lot. What do you think? I think it was 2+. I'm not gonna say what currency I'm using. I know, but I will not tell you. I'd like to know if the very state can be supportive of the business, but give 5, 7, 8 loans. Federation-wise, you don't want to talk about money, do you? Well, the national federation, if there is a championship happening in Ukraine, we can support. But internationals is supported by the game developers. Sweden gave 1 million euros to the internationals. So I think we need to check it every time when there's an event, because there are people who will say let's host it and give money, and some others say let's not do it, because not everyone in the government is supportive of this. We do remember about the minister who said Navi is Microsoft developers. I'd like to know if there are many people of the kind, number one, and how it took major only 2 weeks to conduct, but took you a lot of time to get for the council. So you need to save 1 million and then spend it afterwards. Who's got to pay for it? The Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Tourism, or what? Well, we need to you need to realize who pays the bill. Can I say something? It's about 34 million of grivnas. Everybody's attacking Vitalii, but probably you're aware that you've got to develop certain templates and techniques of influence in the business to participate in cybersport. The best would be worked through the federation, which is already the national federation, and the national federation will be collecting the needs of business, of simple people, how they perceive cybersport, and it will all be broadcast to the ministry, to the top, and and this is how we're going to be successful. But if you take a look at the amount of money, the amount of time needed to adopt cybersport in law as a sport, it's forever. Well, you need to overcome lots of barriers. We're just saying, like the president program of president sport program. Yes, this program does exist. Cybersport is not featured in it. If there were people who are interested, not only us, it would be a lot easier. Recently, we hosted European Federation, and the presidential office all of a sudden joined us, although it was not expected, because they wanted cybersport visit Kryvyi Rih, which is the place of birth of the current president. They went to Kryvyi Rih, and now we're waiting for the next time. So we want them to want badly. If they want it, they will find the money, and we do our best on our side with this group of people that we are. But still, everybody should be interested. Oleg, I'm not attacking Vitaly, but I would like to ask the following. How much do you need? 32 million. Are the ministries interested in this? Because this is additional workload. You need to figure out how it's got to be done. There are not many reference examples that you can look up to. South Korea only. We said that our case is quite a success for other countries, and this is the first in Europe, and we're thinking about opening an HQ in Kiev. So we seem to be the first, the pioneers, and I've been working for the state for 1 year. I'd never worked for the state before. I thought I would come and do everything, but there's some inertia, some slowness. Civil servants are slow and they don't like changes. They don't like to embrace any additional workload, but the minister and his deputies are the ones who shape up the policy, and they tell what's got to be done and they force the others to do, and everything depends on the ratio. So what will be the ratio? The proactive people versus dinosaurs. And I think big kicks is the creation of the CDTO Institute, Digital Transformation Officer. I'm a deputy. The digital transformation deputies, every minister has got one, and it's everything perceived this well positively, and we need to take advantage of what there's going on. The Ministry of Digital Transformation does support us a great deal, but again, as I've told you, it's not quite clear what's got to be done, and we have to figure everything out. But we've got all the capacity, and this is the right time. There are some appointments that are made, and there's an event that's to take place pretty soon, and a lot has been said about the association. And tell me, you are not naming it the right way. This is the National Federation. I call it association. What is your task? How will you help? Briefly, tell us about it. The federation has got to be supportive of the federation. All the federations develop all the sports. The ministry simply shapes up the policies and defines the legislation. So develops the laws and bylaws, and this is the federations who do the rest, who takes care of the sport and develops it. So the state chooses, recognizes that this exists as a sport, and then selects the doer, the national federation. And national federation is a doer in cybersport. We've always been doing it, but since we've now recognized as a national, our handshake with Vitaly gets stronger, and we are gaining more importance.
Just to give an example, recently we had selection games with the National Federation. We have selected athletes that would be participating in the World Championship, and then the ministry can use those cyber athletes as those who will represent our country on some national level other games. And this is an example of interaction between the federation and the ministry. That's a possibility to find talents, those who will be those athletes. Do you know about the number of such tournaments in the world where national representations are playing too? Okay, that's quite a strong answer. Yeah, actually, according to the versions of different organizations, just like in other sports, in China there was an attempt to monopolize those cyber games. So there is an Asian league, so to speak. But this year there is just one big championship, the ISF one, and that's the only federation that's a member of WADA, the sports committee, etc. So that's something recognized by. So yeah, WADA is an anti-doping organization. So most probably it's the very first official tournament. It should have happened last year, but it didn't because of COVID-19, and all the prizes were split equally. This year there will be some attempt. It's going to happen in the beginning of November, and next year the plan is to have 1,500 people. So 1,500 people, that's a big task for a week to have those Olympic Games great activities. Counter-Strike, Dota, Tekken, and yes. Okay. So, previously there was a Tetris tournament. Yeah, ISF was lagging behind. So okay, you are speaking you are speaking of development on the part of the government, but what exactly do we mean? The organization of tournament, selection of people. Could you go into more detail about the tasks of the federation or the tasks of the government? Actually, the government has two tasks in the sports, two main tasks. First, the prestige in the high achievement sport. We have to train the athletes ready to participate in high ranking tournaments. And the second part is mass sports. So it's closely combined with physical activity. That's something that we have always discussed with the federation, that some physical activity should be included in the activities. Anyone wants to add? As far as I know, this was a part of conversation with the table tennis federation. Yes, we will have our hybrid events combining cybersports with other kinds of sports. We have an alternative position on that. Just like in chess, physical activity is not the most important component. Yeah, that's what we are forcing you to do, and that's also the demand of the society, because many parents have concerns about the situation of their children playing computer games. But if they are doing that anyways, we should use this to make their activity a concerted effort in some direction. And here we are providing some positive ways to do cybersports, which is different from regular gaming, as we have mentioned already. I know that the program for sports schools is being developed right now together with the Institute of Physical Culture and Sports. And once this curriculum is developed, that's yet another tool for recognition. Then it will be possible to have departments in the sports schools, the schools that are funded from the government budget. And that's yet another big challenge that I wanted to voice here. That's something I heard of even today and before that, of course. many people know that I support the development of cybersports, and many people ask me where they can train their children. Yeah, I don't have any places at home anymore. Yeah, so it's a problem on the one hand that there are no training centers or sports schools in this regard, or they are very limited. And it's also an opportunity for those who can organize this business in cybersports or who is already involved in cybersports. There is a big demand on the part of parents who hear this from their children and who want to establish this communication with their children. This is something we should benefit from. In the other panel today, we heard today that children should be taught English. Hello. Yeah. So we spoke from the point of view of the government, some social mission, okay. But what about the industry in Ukraine? Oleh, could you tell us a bit, because you're a part of that? We can't say that it's too big in our country. Okay, so let me specify. Can we consider the Ukrainian cybersports industry as separated from the global space or the post-Soviet space? No, it's interconnected. It's a global thing. And for now, cybersports is not split into separate countries. The only thing that exists is professional teams. In Ukraine, for instance, such team is Nabi, and it has a huge number of fans, maybe higher numbers than the number of fans of basketball teams. But it's a global thing, it's a professional thing, and the discussion was about the development of federations, of training the athletes, training someone to the same level as athletes are trained in other sports. Yeah, that's one side. But from the business standpoint, Ukraine is attractive because it's attractive geographically, it has good talent, and the internet connection is inexpensive and of good quality. That's also important. We, as a WePlay company, we are able to broadcast worldwide. We are always broadcasting in 2 or 3 languages, and each event is watched in 50 countries. So it's huge coverage. And yeah, it would be great to have it in Ukrainian. And so, okay, you're saying that Ukraine is rich in talent. So where did this talent come from, and what should we do to increase it in number? Well, it's not only people who are playing, it's not only the people who are training them, who are streaming them, who are organizing something. No, we have 200 people, and it's a development, design studio, finance, HRs, and the most important value of our company is this love for cybersports. We are cybersports and evangelists, so it's very important to have talent. It's important to have not only the cyber athletes. For instance, FS Holding, one of the sections of WePlay merchandise, they make plush toys, also connected with the theme of cybersports. So it means that WePlay is always hiring people. Usually these are software developers and cyber athletes. Maybe they have 3 of them. Yeah, I play Dota, so in a way I am a cyber athlete. Okay, let us fantasize a bit. Let's imagine that it's a global industry and that the federation is successful and this business will be growing. Is it possible that in 10 years we will have a soccer championship and also a cybersports championship of the same scope? This year we are going to have one in October. Next year we truly hope that there will be active support from some local governments or whomever. And as far as I remember, the Ministry of Economic Development is interested to support. There is 1,400 of amalgamated communities in our country, so if they support, the chance is great. So it's a 95% chance. Yeah, but this shouldn't be a one-time effort. This should be something ongoing. This should include a tournament on Dota, Tetris, or whatever other games you like to play. For now, the Federation is taking on the responsibility of holding this on a regular basis, and on the level of championship, there should be competitions with regional teams, so that it's not cancelled as a national level thing. And next, it's the issue of effectiveness of the regional regional centers. Yes, regional championships are already happening. The clubs are getting more active. Ukrainian championship is happening for the third time in a row. Each time it's over 1 million hryvnias. For the next year, practically everything is going to be financed. We are already sure of that, and WePlay is joining that. Yeah, but 1 million hryvnias, it's just the pay of Mr. Konoplanka or any other kind of football player. Yeah, I thought it was about cannabis growing. No, it's not. It's not. So, we are organizing successful tournaments even with 50,000 hryvnias. We are not comparing that with the pay of soccer players. Yeah, I'm just a good actor. And he just likes his last name. Okay, so are there any ways to capitalize on that? You are a business, and business is intended to earn money. Let's not be shy about that. We are thinking about that, but you are not sharing this with Ivan. Yeah, so yeah, we are using loans for now. So what is the percentage you have to pay on that loan? 2.5. Okay, so speaking of 1,400 communities, it's very difficult to organize a tournament of that scope. So as a business, we can only be responsible for some final stages of the tournament, but at the lowest level there needs to be some support of the federation. Yeah, and the communities themselves, they have to declare their interest. As of now, they are not doing anything, and I cannot visit 1,300 communities to install Windows operating systems. So yeah, you have to have several thousands of assistants. Yeah. So the impression is that everything is developing so fast. Is it just an impression? Yeah, it's just about us, right? So you don't have any stars in the App Store, so no one is assessing you. So my impression is that it's only thanks to us and some more people, and that's only because our efforts. That's only about our desire to spend our own money, because that's something we want so badly. But for this to become a national idea, it's necessary for everyone to get on board. It's necessary for everyone to understand why this is useful for the young people, for the country, etc. Yeah, you have to have a sustainable model. The Ministry of Cybersports, right? As of now, right now, it gains traction. So it's great that you are not imposing restrictions. Yeah, a lot of effort has to be put in for it to get traction, and gradually it's going to be implemented. So we are looking for opportunities for this to happen. Yeah, I have the same feeling. We are trying to get as many people on board as possible. Yeah, it's. I wish that you still have money until this happens. Okay, yes, we need to believe in this, and we indeed work a lot to promote this and to share this idea with big brands, and to analyze this, and a lot is being done internally. Not everyone sees this, not everyone understands this, but please believe me, a lot is being done for this industry to be moving forward even faster than it's moving forward right now. So, so and what about the major challenges in the industries, challenges you have to deal with? For instance, I heard about the problem of women's cybersport. Yeah, the problem is that we don't have women's cybersport. Indeed, that's a challenge, and just like previous speaker did, we can call this an opportunity. So yeah, it depends on how we look at it. So the audience of the potential reach can grow twice. And me personally, I would like to see this happen because there is a number of questions to be answered. For instance, the question why women's cybersport is not growing. But if I were a woman, it would be growing faster. For now, I'm looking for such women who are ready to work in this area. So yeah, okay. So we need to have female drivers to develop women's cybersports in our country, and this will open the doors. So ISS will hold the tournament this year, and hopefully, since next year we will see some kind of female division in this tournament, and if a Ukrainian women's team wins something, that would be a great message. So we need to work in this regard because we need to be slightly ahead of time, and because of that, there is huge resistance. We have to work against this resistance, but the opportunities for that are great. So please, women, work for WePlay, please play with us, and the chances are great. But that's not the only problem of cybersports. That's an opportunity. Vitalii, do you have any ideas? I don't. I agree with Ivan. Here we need to have women ambassadors who will set their own example, proving that there are opportunities for development, and only then everything will gain traction. And what about the business side of it, Oleh? Uh, so I have lost the track. Are we speaking of business or are we speaking of women? So there are two global issues: the recognition of cybersports as an industry, because indeed it's not only perceived, it's not perceived seriously, it's underestimated. There is an opportunity, and the second part here is that indeed we need to have more brands in here. Big brands are not ready to fully get involved with the cybersports. For now, it's still the analysis phase, preparational stage. We would like to see more interaction with them. And the events for now are more of the one-time events than seriously planned events. So in the future, it will be easier for brands to work with us if it's planned long-term. And for local Ukrainian office, it will be easier to work with a schedule event, which is planned a year ahead. So right now, we are already promising to hold something next year, and this will simplify the task. Actually, many donorship programs, international donors support the idea of gender equality, so that's an idea for Ivan. If you have this idea of holding something, you can look for grants. So it's interesting, we are four white men and we are discussing the problem of women's cybersports. This is a good time to finish our part. And are there any questions from the floor? I see some hands in the back. So you can ask your question to someone in particular and to all of us. Hello, I'm Anastasia. We are building a sports recreational center in Lviv. So, yes, Lviv. 33,000 square meters, sports and entertainment for the entire family. Do you plan any collaboration with such centers? Have you got any subvention for that? Please get the subvention because you have this opportunity. Uh, from the standpoint of the government, the Ministry of Youth and Sports has delegated everything to the federation. So I see that it's always someone else who's responsible. Okay, Oleh, for now it's a question to you. Okay, so there should be a context established with the federation, and that's an organization that's truly educating cyber athletes, and there can be some chain of collaboration.
So the answer is yes. We do cooperate with the local authorities of Lviv. We've conducted several events at the Bright Cyber Sportsmen in the city, in your city, and we simply need to visit us at Ivan send right to my email. Okay, good. I will approach you after the event, or send me an email. Maybe somebody else has got a question. My name is Mikola, and I work in IT field. Are you looking for a job? Ivan, yeah, I need to write to you. Sure, definitely. But I'd like to ask about education. You've said that it is possible, and there's a lot of information on developing cybersports education. Can you give us a perfect class or perfect training course on cybersport? And question number 2: do you see that those who've gone to those classes, those trainings, what should they do? Play for fun, or what else would be? So they shouldn't play for fun only. They study, especially university diploma, not for fun. With regards to question number 1, we work with several universities. The Physical Education University is its second year of postgraduate. They have 12 students last year. They have 100 students this year, and this is a nice story because there was a company bringing 100 employees of it to the university. We have a special program developed. It's more managerial dash coaching, because this is the physical culture university, but we've been cooperating with other universities, and the number of universities will be 5, and at the Kiev Polytechnic University, I'm all for common sense development, so that a generic computer scientist become a sport. The thing is that a cybersport player knows how to play, but he doesn't know how to connect the mouse to the computer, which is quite disappointing. I like to say that I want the cybersport make a person be reaching out for new objectives. Now it's only 96%. 96% now are men, but we want girls join as well. But this is common sense development. We'd like to teach them a little bit of everything: IT, internet management, AI. How come the computer can beat you? And this is our concept, and definitely it's not about leisure time games. This is purely about managing teams and making yourself a better potential Olympic champion. Yelena, one of the founders of the female club. Do you have more women in our club? Yes, there are a lot of women in our club. Yes, and starting with question 1. I have a son, he's 10, and in the morning before he was telling me, "Mother, I entered technology lyceum, I promised you." Number 1. Number 2, you promised me that I could become a cyber sportsman. How can he become a cyber sportsman? Are you asking me again? Well, let him be one. I'm, as a responsive mother, parents cheat. Now you should Google my article, and you Google this article. I was giving an interview to a female magazine, and all the cyber sport discipline like Counter Strike and Dota, the most popular ones. Inside of those games, there's a rating system. You can understand if you're an F student or an A student. If you're an A student, you're a potential cybersport. If F, try better. You're talking about grades at high school, yes, there's rating. He asked me to upgrade his computer, I mean my son. No, he's just making buy him a new computer. This is 98% of what the children do. Once he start doing something, believe in him, let him play for a while, let him study, support him, let him watch some VIP games, and then you need to show and control to show him the results. Check out his nickname because some of the nicknames are weird, and when you point at the rating, you can tell a good player from the bad player. Don't tell me I have an IT company, because if he's immortal in Dota, he's a cyber sportsman. I was going to be wearing a special T-shirt that probably I thought there are some clubs to attend. There's nothing of the kind, and as a mother, I will have to learn to play the game, which I don't want to. Tell him, try better, do better. Why you still legend? Be divine. And the second question is female team. What is needed? More women against which your female team will play, and we will be ranked number 1 and number 2. Yes, you need 5 people, so 2 teams mean 10 women. If you find an immortal, you can tell us why we okay. My name is Cyril. I would like to ask about the infrastructure. What are plans to improve or contribute to improving of the internet penetration in Ukraine, provided that are you from Melitopol? In Saudi Arabia, there's they've implemented on quarterly basis the checking of the latency for all, measure the cybersport in all the mobile operators, and they provide recommendations. I need to add, Saudi Arabia contacts us, and recently they announced a cool tournament with lots of money, Counter-Strike Dota international tournament, but there's a limitation. Only Arabs can participate. I would also like to tell you about Romania. They are top 5 countries with the best internet latency, speed-wise. Will cybersport contribute in this? Frankly speaking, I know I've been asked. I asked this question in many ministries, and it turns out I also asked it at the Ministry of Education. It's not latency. 60% of schools in our country have no internet at all, and on average, our internet is very good. And I hope that Saudi Arabia's example, if you put it into figures, is a good one. But I wouldn't say that this is 100%. It's not. This is not top 10 necessity. As far as I know, the Ministry of Digital will check the internet connection in all the regions of Ukraine, so that the internet penetration and quality of internet be best. So it all depends if the community, like that one in Melitopol, willing to fill in the application. And we're not making fun. I know that 16% of the budgets in the subvention is still there, have not been allocated. And if you need an internet in a village, please submit your application. Good afternoon, my name is Irena, and I'm the only one who is against everything. I'm not asking the person representing the state, because you're simply appointed to do something. I'd like to ask the person No, he's just doing his job. I'd like to ask the businessman and the who is the head of the federation. Are you current cyber sportsman? Ivan, yes, he's got 6,000 rating in cybersport, and Dandy's got 9,000. What about the businessman? No, I'm not a cyber sportsman. Why are you doing this? Why are you engaged? Because he needs money? I want. So let's not. I'm a journalist. I write about different business. You cannot build an infrastructure which, if the infrastructure has no managers, PR people, lawyers, and if the person who makes our room clean has also been engaged. I'm not a cyber sportsman either. The reason I'm asking you about, I've got some experience and I'm a psychologist, I'm a coach, and a lot of mothers approach me and the children approach me and they have experiencing problems. They are game addicted, and it seems that if you cannot beat the revolution, be the leader of the revolution. Not to cure people who are game addicted, let's call this cyber sport, not to waste money on curing people with game addiction. Do you think really that this is sport, and what muscle are we pumping, what muscle are we exercising here? Let me tell you what I've got on my mind. First, we need to separate sports versus gaming. Gaming and game addiction is when a person is doing something at the computer to go through a scenario. So this is an everlasting story. Just the person kills the time and wastes the time. And if you can play and earn money or pay money, well, cybersport should have the following signs. Everyone is equal to participants are equal because they participate in the competition, and equality should prevail. You're right saying that there are two paths. Either it's in a wild field, or it's being developed in a wild field, or with the state make the federation control everything, control at least something. What you're correct. Gambling, gaming, this are not cyber sports because game addiction is called ludomania. I want to say that if a child is considered to be a sports person, if you make the person train and make the child show results, if he shows not capable, you will learn it at the very early stage, and you will say, you're not a sportsman, why are you doing this? If he or she shows some success, sooner or later he will be a world star. But you can detect it by means of participating in competition. Vitalii is a coach and a psychologist. He's trying to resolve the same problem by different means. So we don't call them sick, we call them sportsmen. Not if somebody is sick, a sick person will not be able to win a competition. So we know what you're talking about. You can discuss. You can ask more questions after this session is over. Mariana, I'd like to ask you the following. Tell us, to make the sport popular, are you planning to show who's there on the stage, reward the best ones, and make everything visible? Yes. We're planning to conduct some events that show who the best are, give rewards, and probably talking about engaging of mass media like television. And we would like to distinguish the athletes so that they feel the recognition, and if somebody's gonna make it to the national team, we want them pleased by the fact that the minister rewards them, because sometimes they don't know who the minister is. Engage Microsoft as well, yes, because it will, if it's not for the athlete, but it's for the sake of their relatives who also will see that their son or daughter, cyber sportsman, is rewarded by the high-ranking official of the country. So we need to be creating stars, and we need to be at the state should be praising and distinguishing the stars for their achievements. My name is Andrew. Good afternoon, Andrew. Are you planning on conducting competitions in between corporations? We do it in. Send your request to my email. Let me answer the following. Cybersport as an HR activity is a cool thing, and we are conducting, and we're supported by the federation. They're not. This is not their main activity, but we're lobbying what they do, and we want everyone understand that this is a good team consolidating activity. But there are several tools that, if you talk to me, I will tell you it's not expensive, corporation-wise in particular, and there have been some instances, let's say, and there's an unknown brand. It was thought that 100 people would participate in the Counter-Strike tournament. Actually, 900 people participated, and even the World of Tanks conducted an event. And that's it for now. Oleg, the businessman, sorry, but we've got to be wrapping up. Vitalii, the stateman, and the person with an email address. Thank you very much. Best of luck to you.